Okay, welcome to my demo of a simple build and deploy in Cicle CI for a Node.js app. First, here's the console of Cicle CI. Here you can see this is my project. The last build was successful and I have deployed my image to ECS. This is the app. Here it says just welcome to this Cicle CI simple tutorial. Afterwards, I will show you the code for this Node app, but as you can see, it is using AWS as the infrastructure to host my project. We are currently using a load balancer and it's targeted to an ECS instance. Here we have the domain as I showed you before. Okay, so now I will show you what is the app. Here we have the app. As I told you, it's a simple Node.js app. Right now it's just an API with 4 different routes for calculations of 2 variables, one for addition, one for subtraction, divide, and multiply. So I place unit test to those functions so I can show you a little bit how to run this unit test using Mocha in our Cicle CI deployment pipeline. Okay, so now I will show you the config file for this Cicle CI and I will explain what are these steps to achieve this deploy. Right now, here you can see this is my config file. It's all you need. It needs to be in this directory .cicle CI and the name of the file has to be config.yaml. There are 4 main things for this config file. One is the version we are using. The second one is the jobs. The third is orbs and the fourth is workflow. First, let me explain a little bit what is an orb. An orb is a pre-built library made by Cicle CI where you have different methods that you can use to simplify the steps or the definition of the jobs you are using. I'm currently using 2 orbs right now. One is for Docker and one is for Node. Here you can find the documentation also for Cicle CI and how to use the different commands it lets you use. Second, let me explain what are these 4 jobs I defined. The first one is to install the npm dependencies. As you can see, I check out my code, the repository. I then use node install packages. It's a predefined function and it receives 2 different params. Well, it can receive more than 2 params, but I'm currently using these ones. I override the command to npm install and I cache path these node modules. Then I run a command to print that I successfully installed my node modules. And then I'm using a workspace. A workspace is used to share different files or directories between my jobs. In this case, it's not necessary, but I use it to show you a little bit how it works. So in this step, I just install all my npm packages, and that is all what I do in this job. And why do I need to install these npm packages? Is because then I will run these unit tests. And for that, I need the libraries of Mocha that are installed or are previously installed in node modules. And I just attach this workspace and run npm test. As I told you before, it's not necessary to be in two separate jobs, but I use it so I can show you a little bit how to persist in a workspace. In this case, I persist the whole root directory and attach it later in a second job. For our next job, it's build and push. We set up the remote Docker. Here you have to set environment variables to Docker Hub, as I'm using Docker Hub to push the image I built. I check out the code and I build it. I use Docker build to build this image. In this case, the image is Node.js calculator, and as a tag I use a variable that is called Cicle CI. It is a unique code generated by Cicle CI, so I can attach it or use it as a tag for this image. Later it will be used to deploy it and to know what image I am referenced to. Next, I run that I successfully built a Docker image and I proceed to push it. As you can see, here is the Docker file. It's very simple. It just install the packages. I use the flag production, so I can just install production packages. I expose the 80 port and I use as cmd npm start. So when it is running, it will use npm start. Okay, later on, the next step is deploy. To deploy, I install the dependencies, the ECS dependencies. I am just using an image that allows me to use these commands. You can use a different one. I'm not using a specific command for this image. But first I need to install the ECS deploy packages. So next I just run this command. It is ECS deploy. I have to set as an environment variable the cluster name, the service name, which image I'm using. As I told you before, I'm using Node.js calculator, and the SHA-1 that was generated before will be the tag for it, so it will know that it needs to change the tag, and I set the region. Later I will explain you a little bit what is a workflow. The workflow defines all the jobs and the steps that it will use for this pipeline. As I define those jobs, it is install, test, build and push, and deploy. I want them to run in a sequence, one after the previous one is completed. So I needed this tag requires, and I set the job that is required to finish before the next one. For example, test requires install first, build and push requires the test first, and deploy need the build and push. First, let me show you. I will use right now simple unit test. Right now I will show you a case when a sum doesn't pass this unit test, so you can see how the pipeline failed. For example, it now is using sum 1 plus 2 and equals 3, but I'm going to set equals 5. Now I will commit this change. For example, unit test failed. and push it. Okay, after we push it, it is committed to the master branch. And now that it's committed to the master branch, I will see that the pipeline is starting and it's going through step by step the jobs I defined: install, test, build and push, and deploy. So now it's installing the packages and it will persist to workspace. And later it will run the test. As I told you, the test will fail because 1 plus 2 is not equal to 5, and it will show the pipeline fail and it will not proceed with build and push and deploy. Now you can see it failed. Expected 3 to equal 5, and that is not true. That is why it fails. So right now I will change this unit test 1 plus 2 equals 3, and for you to see that the message or the image changed, I will change this message. Welcome to this Cicle CI simple tutorial. Now it is a different message for the app. I will add commit and push it again. Okay, so right now it's starting another one. As I told you, I correct the test, the unit test, so now it should pass. Let's wait a little bit. Okay, the install is ready. Now it's going through the test. I will go right now to the ECS instance so you can see what it is going to change. Right now you can see the task definition is this one, is the second task definition, and it should use a kind of blue and green deployment to build and push the next task definition. It is building and pushing right now to Docker Hub. Here you can see that the last change was added 2 days ago. So let's wait a little bit. It should push the image to Docker Hub and use this Cicle CI SHA-1 to identify what is the latest tag for my image. Okay, it is building right now. Just have to wait a little bit. Now it's pushing it. Okay, it is pushed. So now let's refresh Docker Hub repository. We can see that the last pushed was a few seconds ago. It is this one. So we successfully push our image. Now the next step is to deploy. I'm currently deploying. Here you can see right now that the task should get up, the new task, as it ends this step. It's currently deploying right now. It should be the task definition 3, and it is using the new image. In this case, this is the SHA-1 I showed you before. I couldn't see it before because it was an environment variable, but now I can see it on the console. And you can see right now I have my third task definition running. It will take a little while to end this task so you can make sure that both are running right now. I will try to ask again for this route, and now you can see the new message. Now it is a different message for the app. Now a thing I forgot to mention is where do you set these environment variables, and it is simple. Here you can see the project and you can go to project settings. In the environment variables I have the access key and the secret access key, so we can run AWS commands, the region, my Docker Hub login and password, and the cluster name and the service where it will deploy. So I will not wait to this process to end because it takes a little bit for 8 minutes to complete this step. But right now you can see that it works. It is a different message for the app and the unit test pass. Okay, so thank you for watching this demo of a simple Cicle CI deployment.